All right, and for more on this, let's stay with this story. Kelly Smith, Jacquen Appollis, and Steveno van Rhyn were last week convicted for human trafficking in the Joshlin Smith case of kidnapping. But despite the guilty verdict, authorities are still clueless as to the whereabouts of Joshlin Smith, who was only 6 years old when she disappeared from her Middelpos home in Saldanha Bay. And for more on this, we are now joined by Pierre Gildenhuys, and he is the head of forensic investigations at D&K Management Consultants. Pierre, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, this case, when we discovered the disappearance of Joshlin Smith, I mean, it sent through shockwaves in the country. Even ministers had to be roped in when it came to the investigations of this case. And one would say, if you are investigating a matter of this magnitude, where do you first begin with trying to find clues of the whereabouts of the 6-year-old girl?
You have to rely on a few things. First and foremost is people coming to the SABC, to the investigating officer with information. We saw that during this case, actually, although the state prosecution team prepared a brilliant case to get the guilty verdict, they had to rely very much on witness accounts. And without that, there isn't much really evidence to prove anything else. We have to start with information. I think the first few hours when someone is reported missing is very crucial. That's the time for the investigating officers to start working. Fortunately for this case, I think it brought a lot of limelight in the eyes of the news, in the eyes of the media, in the eyes of journalists. The community itself, where Joslin grew up, stood behind this with everything they had. And I think that helped the case immensely to move on and catch the attention that it had. Without that, I fear that, there are so many children, thousands, being trafficked, going missing. And they don't get to have the limelight. And I don't mean limelight in the sense that it's good. They don't get to have all of the attention. They don't get the privilege of a whole nation, maybe even beyond that, a whole world searching for them. They are not heard of. They're just hoping for a better day if they're still alive.
And last week, when we saw the verdict being handed down by the judge, and a number of people, including Joshlin Smith's family, were still asking, where is the little girl? At the same time, Pierre, one would also then ask, I mean, there's still no leads when it comes to where she could be. One would then begin to ask, in an instance of this magnitude, what should happen in this instance, especially when there is no leads?
The Western Cape Police Commissioner, with much vigor, I'll admit, committed to not only the family, but to the community, to the nation, that the case is not closed. They will continue searching. But without any information, there is no magic button that anybody, not anybody in this country can push to tell us where Joslin is. Without information, without viable leads, which I suspect, in my opinion, by now they've certainly run out of. Without further information, without someone coming forward, or without one of the accused or now convicted people willing to give a statement or to start talking, I suspect that, and I fear it might become a cold case, and I hope for her sake that it doesn't. She deserves the justice. The country deserves to know what happened, and certainly as citizens, we expect the best. And I do believe that the SABC has their top minds working on the case. I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt that the net is cast very far, very wide in terms of Interpol, in terms of corroborating with other nations, local law enforcement. I think the net is cast wide and good. I think the top minds are working on it, but unfortunately, without any leads, it will leave us nowhere.
Yeah. And when it comes to using tools like technology, what role can technology play in trying to track down a little girl?
Technology is great. If you have a suspect, if you have a person, there's a lot that you can do. Unfortunately, as we understand, the payment that was received was in cash, so we might not find any electronic payments. But if we can find a cell phone of perhaps the Saldanha, to which Joslin was handed over, but we have to be in a position to first positively identify those people before we can use any technology. Perhaps, surveillance cameras or facial recognition could do something, but it is so far and wide. You'd have to dedicate literally each and every camera in this entire planet to a central database which doesn't exist. It's simply not there. And it goes back to the point. Unfortunately, without new information that's going to come forward, I fear that the case is out of leads. And we just hope that new information will come. We will then be in a position to utilize every tool at our disposal, including the SABC, working with local security companies, private security companies. I am sure that there are thousands of companies willing to dedicate manpower, willing to dedicate hours, to assist, do their bit for the community. But we need something to work from.
All right, Pierre, thank you so much for your time and for that expert analysis. That is Pierre Gildenhuys, is the head of forensic investigations at D&K Management Consultants.